What were things like before the war? Like, say, months leading up to the war.
Yeah, well, let me start. I'm 93 years old. I was born in 1924 in Bayonne, New Jersey. And the reason they call us the greatest generation is because we lived through a depression in the 30s and fought a world war in the 40s. We were poor. There was 12 million people out of work and 15 million in uniform in the 40s. So it was tough times. We didn't have any of the in other words, we had to have ice delivered, we had to have coal delivered. Outside of the cities, we hardly had any electricity. Times were tough. Everybody was poor. Nobody had no money. 12 million people out of work. It's hard to believe. They're on lines and on soup lines, and it was terrible. We had no toys. We were brought up hard times. Nothing like today. This generation today, they can't even imagine how bad it was to be grown up when we did. But anyway, we toughed it out. It was bad. It was bad. Very, very bad. It was a poor country, but a patriotic country. Very patriotic. The 4th of July, it was great. People came from Europe, or wherever they came from. They were so proud to be an American. American was a very patriotic, peaceful country. So that's the background of what we were brought up in. It was very bad. It's hard for people today to imagine how bad times were.
So what about you? So what were you doing? You played baseball in high school. Right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Well,
tell us about your family first.
Well, my father was a fighter. He had 187 fights. He was a professional fighter. He came within 3. He was 3rd away from the championship. He fought a fight off and he lost. But if he won, he would have fought for the championship of the world, but he lost. But anyway, that's about all I can tell you about how America was. It was tough. Very, very, very bad. So right now, we'll get back to Pearl Harbor. It was a Sunday, of course, December 7th, 1941. And I was at a football game in Bayonne. And of course, the time difference between Pearl Harbor and here, it was like 7 o'clock in Pearl Harbor, it was 1 o'clock, 1:30 here. So we were watching a ball game, and the game was over around 3 o'clock. And everybody was starting to leave the ballpark. And at that time, the cars were all parked, and they had the radios. And some guy hollered out, "The Japanese just bombed Pearl Harbor." We didn't even know what the hell Pearl Harbor was. What are you talking about? The Japanese a sneak attack on Pearl Harbor. They damaged all those battle wagons and over 2,000 dead. And it was flabbergasted. It turned America from a peaceful country into a war machine overnight. You will never see America together like it was after Pearl Harbor. So anyway, as I say, everybody was patriotic, and everybody was down to the recruiting station, wanted to go in to fight because kind of Pearl Harbor. It was a sneak attack. It was devastating. But everybody wanted to do their part because America was a patriotic country. We want to take vengeance on them Japs. So I said to my twin brother Jimmy, I says, "Come on, we'll go down and we'll enlist, So we come home and I told my mother, so I said, we want to enlist. She says, no, I'm not going to sign for you. We were only 17 years old. You had to have signed. So she wouldn't do it, so that was the end of that. So we were in high school at the time. And I was in the 11th grade when the attack came. So then I was playing ball with high school and all. And I had a contract with Bristol in the Appalachian League, Class D. We won a state championship. Everyone on our team got a contract. But anyway, I had a very strong arm as a catcher. I want you to remember that because it's going to come in later on. So I'm in school, 12th grade, and I'm looking out on the North Bay, and there's all the PT boats. And on the railroads, all you could see was tanks and guns and this and that. You couldn't keep your mind on your studies. I wanted to get into the war and all the environment around. It's hard for people to imagine 15 million people in uniform. So anyway, when I become 18, I said to Jimmy, I says, I can't take it no more. Let's go and join the Navy. Because you say, well, why the Navy? Well, because I wanted to fight the Japanese. If I waited to get drafted into the Army, I might go to Europe. I wanted to get a Japanese, see? So that's why I wanted to get into the Navy. So he says, well, you're not going without me.
I'm going to stay seated the whole time, obviously.
What? Watch yourself.
Yeah. All right, I'm rolling. Okay. Let me know when you're rolling. Rolling. Jack Guarini documentary, Semper Fi 1. Jack Guarini documentary, Semper Fi 2. Okay. Where were you?
As I was saying, I was going to join the Navy because I wanted to fight the Japanese. And if I waited to be drafted, I might have got drafted into the Army and went to Europe. But I wanted to fight the Japanese on account of Pearl Harbor. So I told my twin brother Jimmy, I said, I'm going to join the Navy. He says, you ain't going without me. So we both went to Newark, the recruiting station in Newark. And when we got there, the Navy was filled up. Everybody at the Pearl Harbor wanted to join. The ranks was filled. You'd be surprised how America, from Pearl Harbor, they were so mad at the Japanese that everybody wanted to fight, you know. So anyway, it was filled up. I said, now what are we going to do now? I'm talking to my brother there in the recruiting station. I said, what are we going to do now? I said, we wait and get drafted, we're going to go in the Army. So this Marine recruiter was there, and he overheard us talking. He says, what's the trouble? And I explained to him, I says, I want to go to the Navy because I want to fight the Japanese. I said, if I wait to get drafted, I might go to the Army. He said, well, why don't you join the Marine Corps? I says, he says, we're in the Pacific. Our 1st Marine Division is already on Guadalcanal. I said, every division after that is going to go to Pacific. So you're sure to go to the Pacific. I says, oh, all right. So me and Jimmy took the physical. We passed the physical, and they put us on a truck, and we were through the Holland Tunnel over to New York. 299 Broadway, New York, and we got sworn in. And they gave us 8 days to get our civilian affairs taken care of. So we went back February the 9th to 299 Broadway, and they put us in a truck, and they took us to Grand Central Station. They put us on a train with Marine guards, you know.
And why did they have the Marine Guards?
Escort, because we don't know where the hell we're going. We don't know. We don't know nothing. So they put, and they got to feed us, you know what I mean? And they escort. They were, let me put it that way. They were escorts. Okay. And they treated us wonderful. So We pull out of Grand Central all the way down to Paris Island, and we pulled into a town called Yamasee. That's the nearest where the train pulls there, in Yamasee. And the drill instructor meets us at the train. He's got that campaign hat on, swagger stick, sharp as a needle, you know. And there's a truck, or a 6x6 they call it, a truck. It was across the road. And there was about 10 of us. So he said, I want you to get into that truck. Now! Wow. We ran across the street, up into the truck. Well, we had to do it 10 times before we pleased them. We weren't doing it fast enough. Holy mackerel. So they got in the truck and into Paris Island. Let me tell you, there is no experience in this world like Paris Island. Oh my God. You wouldn't believe it. We got there around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we didn't get done until 10 o'clock at night. Getting haircuts, shoes, clothes, this, that, the other thing. So we finally get into bed. 6 o'clock the next morning, bugle blows. He comes barking out, racking the beds. And we had to make the beds. He had to show us how to make the beds. And after he showed us how to make a bed, he takes a $50, he flips it up, and it better bounce. So, you know, this, that, the other thing, the first day. We had to learn so much the first day. I said, boy, what a place this is, you know. I mean, and then he says, outside, while you're on duty, when you're in Paris Island, you only say 2 words. Yes, sir, and no, sir. Nothing else, unless I ask you. You got that? Yeah. So anyway, the next day, we get down onto the parade ground. And he's just looking at us, just shaking his head. Now, there was a little prejudice in the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps was mostly Southern. And they still were fighting the Civil War. And they didn't like the Yankees. And we were all from New York, New Hampshire, Connecticut. And right away, the DI was from Georgia. And he didn't like the Yankees at all, you know. So anyway, that set things up. So he says, let me back up a little bit. During the war, the 5 Sullivan brothers got killed on the Juno, the cruiser. So ever since the Sullivan brothers got killed, they wouldn't keep brothers together. So when me and Jimmy went to Paris Island, we were in the same company but different platoons. So anyway, the DI says, okay, let's get something straight now. Who won the Civil War? We're all Yankees. He says, the North. Get 'em up. Up the rifles ran, M1s. 100-degree heat. Hold them up there. Have them all up there, and 5 minutes later, who won the war? The North. And so on and so forth. So about half an hour, some guys were saying the South did help with them, you know, take their hands down, you know. So after I lasted almost an hour, I figured, oh, the hell with it, you know. I'm telling the South one, I won't have to hold a rifle up no more. The sweat was pouring off me. My brother Jimmy was the last one. He wouldn't give in. And they dismissed him. Yeah, can you imagine? He held out. He was the only one. My twin brother Jimmy, he was the only one who held out. So anyway, then they start close order drill. When you first hold out grand rifle, it's heavy. But after 16 days, it's like nothing. But anyway, you close order drill, this, that, the other thing. And then, of course, you get bayonet training. And you get hand grenade training. And then you go crawling on your stomach on the barbed wire. They got a machine gun on top of a sandbag about 3 foot off the ground. And you got to crawl into that machine gun without standing up, or else you're dead. We lost 2 guys. They got scared, they stood up, and they got killed right away. So anyway, the training with the discipline, they had so many punishments. When he says, when I say it touch, I want to hear your eyeballs click. Oh, the discipline was so hard, but it paid off in combat. That's what was behind all this discipline. That when they give an order, you do it. You don't ask why or how. You do it. That's what they were trying to get out of you. You follow orders fast, without no questions. So anyway, you get a 16-day inspection. You get a 32-day inspection. We were there for 2 months, and then you graduate. And that's the proudest day you ever had, when they hand you that emblem. Then you're a Marine. The most excruciating 2 months you ever live in your life. Oh my God, that Paris Island was like Alcatraz. So anyway, while we were there, they give you an aptitude test. Now, at that time, like I told you before, there was a depression and all, hardly anybody working and all, and mostly Southerners. And they only had like grammar school education. So when they give you the aptitude test, anybody that's got a high school diploma or in high school, they send you to school. But these other poor guys that only had an 8th grade education, they go right to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, become grunts right in the infantry. So my brother Jimmy got sent to Cherry Point, North Carolina, in the Marine Air Wing, and I got sent to Quantico, Virginia, Munition School.
But
yeah.
All right, we're rolling. Okay. Semper Fi 3. Semper Fi 3. Okay, so you're going to Quantico.
I'm going to Quantico. My brother Jimmy is going to go to Cherry Point, North Carolina. And the trains were right next to each other on the tracks. Now, me and my brother Jimmy was never separated in our life since we were born. So I put my hand out the window, he put his hand out the window, and that's the last I seen him till almost after the war home. All that, we never separated before, but there we were. That was our parting.
That's a powerful moment.
Oh my God! So he went to Cherry Point, and eventually he became a chief aviation mechanic on the Corsairs. And I went to munition school. Why they picked me from munition school, I have no idea. But of course, I had a better education than most. They sent me to munition school. I had no idea what was going on. So by the time we got up there, it was about 9 o'clock at night after we left Paris Island. Got to Quantico about 9 o'clock at night. And they met us at the train and all. And they informed us that the semester for the munition school was already started. So we're gonna have to wait for the next semester. So we're gonna make MPs out of you, guard duty MPs, until the new semester opens up. Okay. So there's 2 airfields on Quantico. One is Brown Field, the other is Turner Field. So anyway, they got us in the barracks, and we get the blah blah, and they give us the uniforms, everything spick. Quantico is the Annapolis of the Marine Corps. Everything is spick and span, polished. Your shoes, you could see you had to see your face in them. I mean, everything had to be perfect, creases, everything. It was like the Annapolis of the Marine Corps. So anyway, I got all my new uniforms and all because in Paris Island you only had the fatigues and this, so they gave us all the nice uniforms and all. So I was there about 3 or 4 days, and they sent me out. Now this is wartime now. You remember that, it's wartime. A lot of saboteurs around. So they sent me out on an ammunition dump about 5 miles away, out in the woods, in the middle of the night. So they dropped me off. I had an M1 Guarini, had an M1, and he says, we'll be back at 6 in the morning to pick you up. You'd be alert. I says, all right. So there I am, out in the woods, 5 miles away from the camp. Sitting there, looking at the ammunition, looking at the shells, looking at the, trying to pass the time. All of a sudden, I hear a noise. There's nobody around. I'm looking around. So I'm running at the halt. Who goes there? Following general orders. That's one of the general orders. I get no answer. I holler again. And I heard the noise again. So I didn't know what to do, and I figured, well, hey, I better do something. So I emptied an the clip for the M1. I emptied the clip, eight shots, eight bullets, boom, 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 boom. I couldn't see what I was doing, but I shot at the noise. So the officer of the day, they come back 6 o'clock in the morning on the Jeep. How's everything going? I said, I don't know. I says, I heard noise here last night. I says, and I hollered, following general orders, and I got no answer. I says, I emptied a belt, and I emptied a cartridge at the noise. He says, well, everything all right now? I said, yeah. I says, everything's all right. So he's okay. He says, get in the Jeep, and we'll take you back to the camp. So we're walking back to the Jeep, and all of a sudden he stops, and he looks. There's a dead horse. I shot a dead horse. I shot the horse. At least I hit it. That's what he said to me. He said, at least you hit him. I just shot at the noise. But and they had to pay the farmer for the horse. Oh. So anyway, so there, a few more days goes by. And I get down to the laundry to get my clothes. You had to get them cleaned all the time. They have a laundry there. So I went into the laundry, and this guy comes up to me. He's the same build as me, same height, same everything. He comes up to me. I'm only there 3 or 4 days. I don't know anybody. He was there a long time, So he comes up to me and he says, you stole my laundry. So, he might have, he sold his laundry or what, his uniform or what, I don't know. What was behind what? He says, what are you talking about? Because you had to be spick and span. See, maybe something happened. He's making some kind of excuse to get my uniform. I couldn't make heads or tails. I said, what are you talking about? I never stole your uniform. Why would I steal your uniform? And he's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, he was on the top deck on the Quonset hut, and I was on the bottom deck. And I didn't know anybody. I was only there 4 or 5 days. All of a sudden, he comes down with about 4 or 5 Marines from the top deck down with about $50. They put it on the table there. He says, here's $50, says you stole his uniform. I had no money to, I couldn't match their money. I had no money. So this guy named Jackie Nolan from Buffalo, New York. He was going to get married. His girl was coming down to Washington, and they were going to get married. And he had the engagement ring. He backed me up with his engagement ring. He says, here, because the Marines stick together. In other words, all the Marines on my deck, want to be with me, back me up. All the Marines on the top deck, they want to back up the other guy. So anyway, he puts the ring up. We're going to have a fight. So, okay, let's go out. So we go out. A lot of other Marines come around, and they formed a circle, and there's me and this other guy. He was an Indian, by the way. American Indian, not Indian, American Indian. So anyway, we started to fight. Well, he got the first shot in. He hit me here. He split my lip wide open. The blood poured out, and that was it. And we went at it. Make a long story short, I broke his jaw, I broke his nose, and we both had to go to the sick bay. That's the hospital. We're all getting stitched. Oh, what a battle we had. So anyway, we both ended up in the sick bay. So the pharmacist's mate was named Ed Thuring. But years ago in the movies, it used to be Dr. Gillespie. Did you ever hear Dr. Gillespie?
Yeah.
Huh? All right. So we nicknamed him, or they nicknamed him Dr. Gillespie. So that's how I remember his name was Dr. Gillespie. And he was one of the ones that stitched me up and this and that and the other thing. So what happens after that? Then I said there was a brown field and Turner Field. Well, on Turner Field is what they call the A&R shop. It's a big hangar with B-17s in there and all. And as I said, this is wartime sabotage and this and that. So we were on Brownfield on duty, and the other guys were on Turner Field on duty, but the alarm went off. Something's happening in the A&R shop. So we all got in a Jeep and driving from Brownfield to Turner Field to help the other MPs in Turner Field to see what's going on. But by the time we got there, it was all over. They killed 2 Germans in the hangar. They were going to blow up the B-17s in the hangar. But the MPs from Turner Field, they got them. They killed both of them. At wartime, I'm telling you, you had to be heads up. Yeah. So then, what else happened in Quantico? Oh, so anyway, I was an MP for 3 months. Oh, so I had duty on the street where the cars park and all. There was a big Cadillac parked in a no parking zone. Now, if I don't give him a ticket, the officer of the day is going to know why. Didn't you see that car in a space you're not supposed to be there? So I put the ticket on the car. I don't know whose car it was. I put the ticket on the car. So the next morning, a guy, my OD is shaking me in bed. I'm in bed. The next morning, he's shaking. So I says, yeah, what's the matter? He says, we have a little problem. I said, we got a little problem. Yeah, he says, do you know who this is? The guy's standing, Marine standing away. And I looked at him, I said, no, I don't know. It's Tyrone Power, the movie actor. Yeah. He says, he's got 2 stripes against him, 1 more and they're gonna wash him out. He says, I can't tell you what to do. He says, but if you wanna forget it, you can forget it or you don't have to. It's up to you. And I said, don't make no difference to me. If it's okay with you, it's okay with me. And he came over and shook my hand. He thanked me very much. And his wife was named Annabella. And she was a bartender in this, what we call a slop shoot, where they have the beer and all that. For the next 2 months, I never had to pay for a beer in the slop shoot. Everything was free. So he wants me to stop, so I'll stop.
Yeah.
And then let me just get the
liaison.
Let me get the Zoom where we want it.
This is take 4, I believe.
This is take 4, yes. Okay, we are ready to go. And we're rolling on camera 2.
All right, so ready to clap?
Oh.
Semper Fi 4. Semper Fi 4. Okay, so just backing up a little bit So when were you in Quantico? What's the time frame?
Well, I joined the Marine February the 1st, 1943. And February the 9th, I went to Paris Island. April the 9th, I was in Quantico for 4 months.
For 4 months, okay.
And I had to wait 3 months for the semester of the munition school to open up again. So they made an MP out of me. And that's what I told you about the story about the MP.
So what happened with at the end, just going back at the end of the fight that you had? So what was the outcome of that?
I won the fight, so I gave the $50 to Jackie Nolan for a wedding present, and he got killed on Iwo Jima. But anyway, the 3 months was up, and I went to munition school. Well, I was in 12th year in high. I took physics, I took chemistry, and blah blah blah. But I was only there from September, October, November, December. I was there only 5 months. You know what I mean? So I only in the beginning of it. In the 8th, 12th grade. So they sent me to munition school. It was all over my head. Oh, physics and this and that and the other thing. I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So like this. I had no more idea about munition school than I know about this. I said, what did I get myself into? But anyway, I lasted about a month in school. But I couldn't make it. I couldn't grasp it. So they put me in a casual company, what they call a casual company, for about 2 weeks. You just do anything. Cut the grass, you do this, you do that. Kill them time till they find out what the hell they're going to do with you. So finally I got called into the major's office, and he says, you're going to report to New River, North Carolina, FMF, Fleet Marine Force. That's combat. So I knew right away, I said, I didn't care. That's what I wanted,
Okay. So
but I didn't want to let him know that. But anyway, and so they put me on a train in Quantico down to New River, North Carolina. And I joined the 4th Marine Division at New River, North Carolina. So we're packing up to go to Camp Pendleton, Oceanside, California. Now in the Marine Corps,
Well, how long were you in New River for?
I was only there 10 days.
Oh, just 10. Okay.
In the division, you have 3 regiments: the 23rd, the 24th, and 25th. I was in the 25th. So the 23rd and the 24th went by train out to Camp Pendleton. The 25th, my regiment, they put us on a truck down to the station, and we got on a train up to Norfolk, Virginia. We got up to Norfolk, Virginia, and we went aboard the troop transport. And they took us all the way down through the Panama Canal. And when we got down to the Panama Canal, it was about midnight. And I wanted to see how it worked. They got the 7 locks, and then you go through the 25-mile lake, and then you go down 7 locks. But anyway, we were through the canal. Now, we finally hit the Pacific. This is unbelievable. The first day I'm in the Pacific, I'm on a troop transport. I'm down about 4 decks, 5 decks down. They pack in like sardines, where your bunks are, the cots. And anyway, we just come out of the Panama Canal. We were only maybe 2 hours out of the Panama Canal. All of a sudden, whoom! The vibration knocked me out of my bed. I was on the fantail of the ship. I don't know what happened, but I later found out it was the 5-inch gun, our own 5-inch gun the Navy was firing at a Jap submarine. Can you imagine that? The first day in the Pacific. And that's where the Japanese made their mistake, by the way. When they hit Pearl Harbor, if they had to hit the Panama Canal at the same time that I had us, that was their big mistake. If they hit them simultaneously, forget it. But anyway, that was my welcome to the Pacific. So anyway, we went up.
What did that feel like to you?
Huh?
What did that feel like to you?
What do you mean? What did?
When you heard that explosion, and you said,
I didn't know what the hell it was. I didn't know, but I found out we were on a fantail, and the 5-inch gun is on the fantail. And when they fired it, we heard the vibrations, you know. So anyway, we went up to San Diego, and they put us in trucks, and we're gonna go up to Camp Pendleton. Now in Camp Pendleton, you got nice barracks. You got nice. The 23rd and the 24th, they were already there. There was no room for us. So we had to go about 10 more miles up Highway 101 to a place called Las Plagas Canyon. It was Tent City. And that's where we finally resided in Tent City.
What were those conditions like?
Oh my God. So hot in the summer and the day and so cold at night. But anyway, we had all this advanced training there, and we made mock landings on San Clemente Island. I mean, over and over and over and over the side of the ship, down, rehearsing all the time, getting it perfect. So anyway, comes January the 13th, 1944. Here we go. We're the first and only American division to leave America and go straight into combat. Some others, they go to France or they go here before they get into combat. We left San Diego and we hit the beach in the Marshall Islands, Kwajalein, Roy and Namur. Right from San Diego, straight into combat. So my introduction to combat, we were green troops. We were trained, but we were still green. It takes you 2 minutes under combat to not be green. But anyway, I was in the first wave. And we were on the alligators, the tractors, the alligators, and they got 50 caliber machine guns on there. So as we're going into the beach, they're firing at the palm trees and then firing at the beach, But while you're going in the alligator, you're going like this, you're going straight, the waves, you know what I mean? You up and down. So anyway, we sprayed the palm trees, sprayed the beach, and jumped over the side onto the beach. Now here comes the second wave coming in. Now, as they're coming in, they're doing the same thing we done, firing at the palm trees. But when the alligator comes down like this, they're supposed to stop firing. What's the matter?
I don't know. Can you back up? Just
yeah.
Because you're up. Oh, there's a shot. All right. Perfect.
Oh. So when the second wave comes in, it's all right if they fire at the palm trees. Well, when it comes like this, they got to stop firing because they're going to hit us on the beach. Well, them 50 calibers was coming up left and right of me. I was, holy shit. And I seen a big waterlogged stump, a log on the beach. So I see these 50 calibers coming up. These guys are going to kill us on the beach. By the way, during the war, accident and friendly fire killed 20% of the casualties. Bombing's wrong, firing's wrong. Believe me, there were so many mistakes made during the war that nobody ever knew about. They get a telegram home, killed in action. It was by friendly fire. Not meant to be, but that's what it was. And this would have been it. So anyway, I jumped over this log. Now don't forget, it's 100 degrees. And them battle wagons was hitting hitting the beaches for 3 days. So I jumped over this log to get away from our own 50 calibers. And I jumped over this log, and I ended up on top of a half a bloated Japanese. He was dead for 3 days, I guess. He was all blown up with maggots, and I landed on him. That was my introduction to combat.
Cut. Let's cut there. That's a good way to cut.
Yeah.
That was my introduction to combat.
Camera 1 is on.
Camera 2 is rolling.
Okay, Semper Fi. Don't forget to clap. Take 5, clap. Take 5, clap. Okay.
Oh, and I got to back up a little bit. We're going to go back to Camp Pendleton. I forgot to tell you this. The thought just came to my mind. We all had Guarini rifles. So we're training. So this one day, they got us out there, and they put a tank, American tank, our own tank. They put it up against a hill. And they had this instructor. He was a civilian instructor come over and talking to us and all. He said, we're going to introduce something new. It's called a bazooka. I never heard of it before, bazooka. So he says
Hey, pause for 1 second.
Play.
Hold for copter.
So it's a bazooka, and it takes 2 men, one to fire, the other one to carry the rockets. And we're gonna fire these bazookas at that tank. You know, see how it works out and all. Well, I was only at that time I was 19 years old. But we had Marines that were 21, 22, 23. They were more savvy than I was. I was a little naive, you know. So we kneeled down. I got the bazooka on my shoulder, and he attaches the wire to the battery and then onto the fin of the rocket, and then they put the rocket in from the back, and then my assistant, he hits me on the head, my helmet. And that's my signal to fire. But I wasn't the first in line. 4, 5, 6 guys ahead of me. And they're firing a bazooka and they're missing the tank. And the instructor's looking, geez, what's going on there? So when it came my turn, I blew the shit out of the tank. They were missing on purpose because they didn't want to carry that stovepipe into combat. It's cumbersome. But I didn't know any better. See? So they made me a bazooka man. So now we get back to the Marshall Islands, and I was a bazooka man. So anyway, it was only a 3-day battle. But anyway, the second night, the main fight was on Roy and Namur. But I was on an island about maybe 150 yards away, but they had a causeway coming from the 2 islands over to our island. So the Marines on them 2 islands, they were killing most of all the Japs. So the Japs wanted to get away, and they were going to come across the causeway over to our island to get away. See? So this is about 2 o'clock in the morning. We're all alert, and we hear all this firing on these 2 islands and all. But we're on this other little island. All of a sudden we heard, bazookas up, bazookas up. There's about 6 of us, bazooka men, you know. Here they come, they're coming across the causeway, 4 tanks. Got about 20 Japs on each tank, you know, screaming, drunk with the sake. It's benzai, you know, suicide. You know, they just want to get away, you kill as many as they can, you know. So now the bazooka's up. It's like a firing squad. You don't know who the hell hit what. But anyway, the 6 of us, we blew the shit out of the 4 tanks. We got them all. So it paid off. You know what I mean? It was a joke on me to be a bazooka man, but at least it paid off. I got some satisfaction out of it. At least I done some good with it, you know. So anyway, we had after the battle was over, we had a garrison for 1 month. And it had to be 120 degrees. So I got dengue fever, 100 and some fever, plus dysentery, because all the dead Jap bodies, the flies get into the food. And then when we try to eat, the flies get in there and that transferred the dysentery to us. Oh my God. So anyway, we had to stay there a month. And I lost about maybe 15 pounds from the dysentery and all. And we got back to Maui. That was our rest base. It's about 90 miles away from Pearl Harbor. And I ended up in a hospital there for about 2 weeks, I guess, till they cleaned me up with the dengue fever and all. And then, so that was our rest. They call it rest base. It's training, you know. So it's like advanced training after it. So, but we were already through combat, but still you had more training. Marine Corps is always training. So you have jungle warfare, you have this, you have that, and all that. So they have these mock things, villages. So they said, all right, we're gonna attack them with hand grenades. Okay, so we're going through the mock village and all, and these guys, these other Marines that throwing the grenades, they were throwing them 30 feet, and they weren't getting nowhere. I got them grenades, I'm throwing them 2 stories high right through the window. That's why I said I had a good arm when they're playing ball, Right, that was good, right through there. So anyway, a lot of training and all, and that's about all as far as the Marshall Islands go.
Can I ask you to back up?
Hmm?
So one thing about the Marshalls, that's your first time in combat.
Yeah.
Right. When you first took your first shot at a Japanese, when you took your first shot at the Japanese soldier or garrison, whatever, do you recall what you were feeling? Do you recall your emotions?
No, I only had a bazooka. Had a bazooka on the Marshall Islands.
Okay, so you didn't do any just firing with.
We knocked out the tanks.
That was it. So no rifle firing. Or
no, the other Marines done that. We were bazooka. We were after the tanks. That's why I got the bazookas. Okay. It's anti-tank. See.
So what was the outcome? What was the outcome of the Marshall? So the battle lasted 3 days.
Yeah.
And then, so what was the?
And we garrisoned for a month. Oh. So I just see the thoughts come back. Now, February the 1st we hit.
1944.
Yeah. Isn't this something? I joined the Marine Corps February the 1st, 1943. 1 year to the day, February 1st, 1944, we hit the Marshall Islands. 1 year from the day. So it was Lincoln's birthday. Lincoln's birthday, February the 12th. As I said, we're doing garrison duty. You got to walk along the beach, make sure no Japs are coming over and all, And it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And they had what they call Washing Machine Charlie. It's a Jap plane. They're up about 30,000 feet. They just haphazardly harass us. They don't know where the hell the bombs are going. But they just don't want us to have any rest. It's a harassing thing, And they hit the jackpot. They hit our ammunition dump. Oh, my God. Now, that ammunition dump was on Roy. Now, I'm 150, 250 yards away on another island. It knocked me right off my feet. What an explosion that was. Oh. It killed Marines on landing barges 700 yards away from the beach. Debris, concrete, steel. What an explosion! What that was. It was Lincoln's birthday. But then anyway, we were able to March the 1st, we went back to Maui for more training, and like I told you. So and that was the getting ready for Saipan. That was our next hit.
One quick question. This may not be. We can always cut this later. When you talk about the harassing plane.
What?
The harassing plane.
Yeah.
The guy that landed. You said that you went. That's not on the Marshals, right?
No, that was on Saipan.
Right.
That was on Saipan.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
cut.
Yeah.
A is on. B is ready. Turn it on. Yep.
Oh, it's on.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I mean on like recording. Sorry.
Yes, record. All right,
We're recording.
get ready to clap. So, day 2, Semper Fi, take 1. Semper Fi, take 1. Okay, so you want to go back. So
Yeah,
we're
well,
going back.
well, first I want to explain a few things and give you a little bit of a background. So your generation went through wars in Iraq and Iran. Everybody knew where you were. In World War II, everything was a secret. You sent mail, it was care of the Fleet Marine Force, San Francisco, Pacific. Nobody knew where you were. No, they kept every outfit quiet that the enemy wouldn't know where we were. It was very, very secret. The whole World War was a very secret from the Japanese, because that's all they had to know, because they're always listening. So anyway, and then you're in for the duration. It ain't like you're going over there to Iraq for a year and you come back. We had no timetable. And the odds kept building up against you. 1 invasion, 2 invasions, 3 invasions, 4 invasions, and then Japan. I mean, it was a terrible thing on your mind. No matter, even if you survived, you don't know whether you're going to make the next one or not. So anyway, we'll get back to San Diego before I went overseas. The night before we went overseas, all right? The night before we went overseas, we're docked in San Diego. So there's a big Quonset hut hall on the dock. And they're gonna let us watch a movie. Now remember, we're going overseas, but you never know where you're going, because you don't open up orders till you're 3 days out at sea. Then the captain opens up, gets his orders after 3 days out, then he tells us where we're going. So nobody knows where we're going. You know, that's the way they done it. So we're aboard the ship on the dock under armed guard, because some guys wanted to run away. You know, I mean, we had a couple of weaklings, you know what I mean? They got scared. So you're under armed guard from the ship to this hall. They're going to give us a movie. Oh boy, you know, it's great. So down the gangplank into the movie hut, and it's a big hangar. So of course they got no marquee. You don't know what the picture's going to be or anything. You know, you don't care. It's going to say about a movie. You know, that's great for us. You know, because we never get no recreation or anything. So we get in there and all lights are on and all, and the admirals and the generals and this and that, and the general finally comes through and the lights go out. Now the movie starts. What do you think the name of the movie was? Destination Tokyo. And we're going overseas the next day. But we didn't know where we were going, you know? And that was the name of the movie. Do you remember that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the name of the submarine was the Copperfin. USS Copperfin. So we went down and we hit the Marshall Islands and we come back to Pearl Harbor. But when we got back to Pearl Harbor, it was so jammed with ships, we couldn't dock anywhere, so we had to go over to Sand Island, which is the submarine base. So we went over to Sand Island, and we had to lock onto a sub. It was about 5 or 6 different subs. So we had to, of course, there was no dock space, so we had to just tie onto one of the subs. What do you think the sub was that we tied onto? The Copperfin. You talk about a coincidence. Ain't that something? Yeah. So what else? So I tell you, everything's a secret and this, that, the other thing. And even like your parents didn't know where you were. All they had is San Francisco, post office San Francisco. Nobody knew where anything was. See? So anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, and then talking about secrecy, this submarine. We found this out later, that they were near Tokyo, and all of a sudden they got Tokyo Rose on the radio. You heard of Tokyo Rose?
Yep.
All right. She had information. So anyway, she said, hello, this is Tokyo Rose. She gave them the name of the sub, the name of the captain, the name of all the officers. Hey, look at it. How does she know who the hell we are? It was flabbergasted. So for a day they're trying to figure it out. So finally the captain gets a hold of one of the sailors that took care of the garbage. He says, did you, what do you call it, when you make it sink, what do you call it? Wait. Did you weigh the garbage so it would sink? He says, oh no. Japanese junk picked up that garbage. That's how they found out the names of who was on the submarine. Oh, they were crafty. They were smart, these Japs. So anyway, I just want to get that out of the way. So now we're going to back. Oh, so we're going to hit. Oh, we're going to go to Saipan. So we left Maui. And we went over to Pearl Harbor, and we went aboard LSTs, which that's where the alligators are, in the LSTs. So we were going to be there for 3 or 4 days to pick up all the convoys. We had over 700-800 ships. They all had to come together to go to Saipan. Is that right? So anyway, my brother Jimmy, well, let me see, my father, he only went to the 8th grade because he was a fighter. He fought 16 years in the ring. He was 16 years old when his first fight. He was 32 when he quit, and then he became a fireman. But anyway, he was self-taught. So whenever time he'd read the paper, and if he didn't know the name, couldn't understand it, he'd get the dictionary out. And he'd become a very good speller. But the one word that he could never get right was Hawaii. Hawaii. He'd always couldn't get that in his head, So my brother Jimmy writes home a letter to my father. Blah, blah, blah. Then he says, how's your spelling? Do you still get stuck on that same word? He was telling me he was in Hawaii. So my father picked it up, and he sent a letter to me. He says, I got a letter from Jimmy, and he wanted to know if I could still spell that word. We couldn't mention it. You couldn't say. Everything was email. Everything was censored. Every letter was censored. Oh, you're so secret because, hey, this is war. So anyway, that's how I found out that Jimmy is in Hawaii. I'm in Pearl Harbor. Now, he's in the Marine Air Wing, and the Ewa Air Base is in Pearl Harbor, see? But it's about 40 miles up, 30 miles up wherever it was. So when I got the letter, I said, I'm in Pearl Harbor. He's on Ewa Airfield, so I don't know where the hell Ewa Airfield was. So I asked a couple of MPs, I says, where's the Ewa Airfield? Oh, he says, that's 30 miles away up there, I said, holy jeez. I said, how the hell am I going to get there? So they had these half tracks that were going along the road. So I says, where is heading? He said, we're going up to Ewa Airfield. Holy, Ewa Airfield? Yeah. Oh, I said, can I get a ride? He said, yeah, hop on. I hitchhiked on that half track all the way up to Ewa Airfield. Now we're twins and we look alike. So I go up and I go into the field. I went to the field and I get into the barracks. and there was a sergeant writing something on our desk there. And I walked up, I'm waiting for him to look up. He looked up. Hey, Jim, what are you doing here? I said, wait a minute. I said, I'm not Jim. I'm his twin brother, Jack. Yeah. You know, I said, no. You know. So back and forth. Then finally he had a glum look on his face. I said, what's the matter? He says, Jimmy just shipped out for Midway yesterday. I missed him by 1 day. Now, this is the war. No guarantee we're both going to live or see each other again, you know? So what a disappointing thing that was. And I had to go to Saipan. So anyway, we got back up onto the LSTs. And we're going to ship out. And all of a sudden, all these explosions. This was kept quiet during the war. No, they kept it under wraps. 5 LSTs blew up, sabotage. And we had to go into Saipan, less 1 battalion, which is 1,200 men. But blown up left and right. Now, I don't know what it was, a welder's torch or was a sabotage or what, but full of ammunition, you know, getting ready in the combat, fully loaded with all this boom, 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 boom. But it was kept quiet during the whole war. It was never released. All right.
Why don't we stop there?
Yeah, all right.
And then we'll. Camera A's rolling.
Camera B's rolling.
Yep. All right. So day 2. Semper Fi, take 2. Day 2, Semper Fi, take 2. Okay. So now you're going to Saipan. So when did you ship out?
Around the end of May.
So around the end of May.
Yeah, because we had to go from Pearl Harbor down to Saipan, you know.
And how big was the convoy?
About 800 ships, 800 ships. Battle wagons, carriers, destroyers, cruisers, you know, troop transports. And now I'm going to try. People have seen documentaries of the war or movies of the war. It's hard to convey the feeling of being there. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but when they issued door tags, they're about 1/16 of an inch thick. By the time we come home, after the battles and all, they were down to 1/32 from the sweat. I mean, you see, we had to fight the elements, rain, artillery. If you ever were caught out in a storm with the lightning, it makes you jump, right? Only these were shells coming in. For 4 days they had us pinned down. We couldn't move. And there was shell after shell coming down. Don't ask me how I'm here, I don't know. But anyway, I'm trying to convey the feeling what it was like to be dodging these shells. Not that you knew what you were doing, but you lucked out. That's the only way I can put it. But artillery is murder. Not only that, but in Europe, it was they'd fight all day, but at night it would be artillery duels. But in the Pacific, we chased the Japs all day, but they came at us all night. So it was a 24-hour war. We never had no rest. We had no food for 26 days except K rations. We lost. I lost at least 20 pounds. Like I said, between the artillery and the machine guns and this and that, and the sweat and the stink of the dead Japs and the dead Marines, it's so hard to explain. I'm trying to make you understand what it was like, because when you just see a picture, but you just see a picture, but you don't understand what's going on. So anyway, we hit Saipan, and as I said, they hit us murderous for 4 days. In 4 days, we'd had over 2,000 dead Marines. And so anyway, we're in a hole the 5th day, I think it was, around there. Don't hold me to the day, but around there, around the 5th day. And we're taking some beating. Oh, they had everything zeroed in. They drove up on in the center of Saipan is called Mount Tapachow. It's 1,500 feet high. And in front of that is called Hill 500. The reason the numbers is how high it is. Hill 500 is 500 feet. So they give the names of the hills and by the height. So Hill 500 was, they knew we had to take Hill 500 before we could take Mount Tapachow. So it was heavily fortified. So anyway, about the 5th day, we dug in for the night. And now like I told you, we had about 700-800 ships out there. So we woke up in the morning, looked out the foxhole, we looked out, there wasn't a rowboat. There wasn't a rowboat there. Now that's what happened on Guadalcanal. They gave up on the 1st Division Marines in Guadalcanal. The Navy hauled ass, and the Marines were on their own. So right away we figured, oh, geez, because we took so many casualties, they gave up on the invasion. They took off. They gave up, and now we're on our own. That's your lifeline out there. That's your food, your ammunition, your water. You can't do it without them. We're doomed. I said, holy Jesus. Now, I said, we all figured they gave up on us because we didn't know what was going on. But what was going on was they broke the Japanese code. The Japanese was going to land behind us with their 4 or 5 troop transports, carriers. They were going to have a showdown with the United States Navy. Going to surprise them. But we broke the code. We knew they were coming. And that's what they called the Mariana Turkey Shoot. The American sailors on the aircraft carriers, they took off. They shot down over 450 Japanese planes coming to Saipan. Can you imagine? If they didn't break that code, they would have had us. They would have landed behind us and we would have been done. But because we broke the code, we got the foot up on them, and that's what they call the Mariana Turkey Shoot. 400 and some planes, and that saved us. So anyway, on and on and on. So we got the Eslido Airfield. You go by phase lines, 01, 02, 03. See, in other words, you only go so far and you stop. 01, that's a phase line. Because you might get there easy, but the guys over here can't get there. So you don't want to get too far ahead of them. So you always fight by phase lines. So 01 and you stop. That's about a mile in. And then 02's and maybe another mile or half a mile, whatever it is, But anyway, that's the way you do it. You can't get one ahead of the other because you'll be killing each other. So anyway, we finally get to the base of Eslido Airfield, the Japanese airfield. So we captured the airfield. So okay, and we were taking a little rest, because we got to go up the rest of the island, and you don't want to get caught out in the open by a plane, because you can't get away. Once they come in so swift, you're dead. So here comes this Jap plane coming in. So naturally, we all ran for cover somehow to get away because we were out in the open. He makes a 3-point landing. He didn't know we captured the airfield. And I think every Jap on Saipan shot him. He looked like Swiss cheese. So anyway, we had the 2nd Marine Division on our left, the 27th Army Division in the center, and the 4th Marine Division on the right. So, okay, now we're going to push up the island. So, the 2nd would push, the 4th Marine would push, and the 27th would stay back. They're coming around on our flanks. They're murdering us because the Army wasn't keeping up with us. So this went on a couple of times. So Hollerman Schmidt, the general, Hollerman Schmidt, and the Army general's name was Smith. So anyway, he come back. He says, "Our flanks are wide open. When we move, you got to move." And blah 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 blah. So anyway, he wasn't getting anywhere with him. So we went halfway up the island, and there's a peninsula sticking out. There's about 5,000 Japs in there. So Schmidt comes back and he says to him, "Now look, we're going to close ranks with the 2nd Division, the 4th Division, Marine Division, the 2nd Division. We're going to close ranks and go up the island. Clean out that peninsula. You got it? Yeah, okay." We go up there. 4 or 5 more days we're going. We're taking casualties left and right. I mean, we're getting worn out. And where's the Army? They got to relieve us, you know what I mean? Didn't they clean that thing out yet? So General Heidelman Schmidt, he got in the Jeep. And he went back to the peninsula. The Army was bivouacked on the base of the peninsula. He says, "What's going on here?" To the General Smith, Army General. He said, "They didn't come out yet." "They didn't come out yet? You got to go in and get..." Oh, he got him by the neck, put him in the Jeep, drove him down, and threw him off the island, and we took over the Army. That's how bad they were, the 27th Division. Oh, my God. Can you imagine that? Oh. So anyway, we pushed up, and finally, we got to the end of the island. Oh, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself. After Eslido, we're going to attack Hill 500. Get my book, Tommy. Get my book. We're going to attack.
Camera A is rolling.
Camera B is rolling.
All right. Day 2, Semper Fi, take 3. Semper Fi, take 3.
Well, I just want to read you what was before we hit the beach, before we left the ship. He says, wait a minute. Oh, to this general knowledge being briefing officers added information concerning various perils to the health of Marines. A battalion of the 14th Regiment, which is artillery, according to combat correspondent John Campbell, heard his medical officer aboard ship describe the hazards. In the surf, he said, beware of sharks, barracuda, sea snakes, razor-sharp coral, polluted waters, poisoned fish, and giant clams that shut on a man like a bear trap. Ashore there is leprosy, typhus, yaws, typhoid, dengue fever, dysentery, saber grass, insects, snakes, and giant lizards. Eat nothing growing on the island, don't drink its waters, and don't approach the inhabitants. At the conclusion of the lecture, the officer asked if there was any questions. A PFC raised his hand. "Sir," he asked, "why don't we let the Japs keep the island?" Okay, so where was I?
So you're about to take Hill 500.
Oh, so we had to take Hill 500 before we can go any further. And it's the most heavily fortified on the whole island. That was it. You took Hill 500, you knew you were going to get the island. But if you didn't, forget it. So, on D+3, it was apparent that the core of enemy resistance was badly shattered. Our gains were costly, but they were significant. By the evening of D+3, the 25th Regiment, that's my regiment, the 25th Regiment could see the Eastern Airfield. Since Eslido Airfield came into the U.S. Army 106th Infantry Zone of action shortly thereafter. That portion taken by the 3rd Battalion, which was mine, was turned over to the regiment. Thus, the southeastern segment of the island was almost cut off, and the 4th Division was in position to sweep northward up the eastern half of the island. All right, now we're heading for Hill 500. So then here's where we landed. This is the peninsula I was telling you about. This is where we landed. This is the peninsula I was talking about, and this is the end of the saipan. Now, this becomes personal because it happens to be my company, Attacking Hill 500. A company, L Company, my company, a company of the 25th Regiment, commanded by Captain James Headley, my captain, made the first assault, which met with murderous Japanese fire. Headley and 100 men charged the hill, which I was one of them, and found themselves suddenly pinned down by 6 machine guns grouped around a cave. It was, oh, do I remember this? It was a tight spot, and Marines hugged the deck for half an hour while a fusillade of bullets split the air above them in every direction. Headley received orders to withdraw. 1 man had been killed and 30 wounded. Headley himself had been wounded twice, although not seriously. Slowly inching their way back down the hill and dragging the wounded with them, the remaining men crawled to safer position. Then as they neared their own lines, the very ground seemed to blow up in their faces. A hidden ammunition dump had exploded, possibly setting off by remote control. When the smoke cleared, 20 more had been wounded. In less than an hour, the 100 men who had made their way up Hill 500 had suffered 51 casualties. It had been a disastrous morning. Throughout the day, mortar and artillery fire was poured on this strong point. The next morning, Headley led a new attack with Lieutenant Colonel General Jumpin' Joe Chambers, who won the Congressional Honor on Iwo. Chambers was personally directing. The men went up the hill in an old-fashioned hell-bent for leather charge. Enemy machine guns silenced with grenades and flamethrowers. Japs dashing from their caves and bunkers were cut down with rifles and bayonets. Grenade duels and hand-to-hand fighting went on simultaneously at a dozen places. The dazed Japs fell back, were killed. An hour and a half after the start of the attack, Hill 500 was ours. We lost 90 men, but we came across the holler and took our objective. Colonel Chambers later he himself had been wounded by concussion when a Jap landmine exploded, and he was taken to Concentrated Field Hospital. Out of the 100 men, only 10 of us come back. Well, I don't know how I made it. But anyway, it was kill or be killed. This was war. This was no plaything. This was out and out. You or him. He gets you or you get him. So that relieves your conscience. It's more self-defense than anything else. You know what I mean? So anyway, we took Hill 500, and as I said, we had to close ranks with the Army, and finally we hit June the 14th, and now it's July the 10th that we secured the island. So when we secured the island, we had the Japs in a pocket on Shoreside Cliff, they call it. The last cliff. They had nowhere to go, so we put up loudspeakers, asking them to surrender, but they were fanatics, you know. You had to kill every one of them. You captured the Germans and they put their hands up, not the Japs. You got to kill every one of them. So anyway, they wouldn't give up, and they took all the civilians, women, children, throwing them off the cliff. We're sitting there smoking cigarettes, watching, maybe 400 or 500 off the cliff, and that was the end of Saipan. They were fanatics. So now we figure we're going to go back to Pearl Harbor for a rest. We all lost at least 25 pounds. we were worn out. So the island was over July the 10th. So 2 or 3 days we were finally getting food. After 26 days, no hot food. Finally we're getting fed, and so about the 4th day, they hold a meeting. They told us we're going to hit Tinian. That's only 2 miles away. What? We thought we were going to go back to Pearl Harbor or back to Maui for a rest, No, they said we got to take Tinian. Oh my God, we couldn't believe it. The shape we were in, but we were experienced troops. They didn't want to send green troops there, So anyway, so the 10th of July, so the 20th of July, which is my birthday, I had on Saipan while we were waiting to go to Tinian. The 24th, we hit Tinian, 4 days after my birthday. Here I'm thinking we're going back for a rest. Yeah, rest my ass. So anyway, we hit Tinian, and they expected us to hit where Tinian town was. Had it all landmined and everything else. But where we hit was remote. They never thought that we could land a division where we were. So it was an end run, in other words, let me put it that way. So we made an end run and hit them where they didn't think we were going to hit them. So that was the 24th of July, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Now it's the 30th of July, 6 days after we hit. And we're all run down from Saipan, and we could hardly move, we were down, we just couldn't do it no more. So we're following these tanks, our tanks. The tanks go along and you're following behind them. So I says to myself, I can't walk no more, I'm done. I said, what the hell am I walking for? Let me hitch a ride on the tank, which you're not supposed to do. I said, the hell with it. I jumped up on the tank, It was just around noontime. So I take out a K ration out of my pocket, I take out my knife, K-bar, and as I open up the K ration with the knife, boom! Up in the air I go. Hit a landmine. The tank hit the landmine. Killed the driver and whoever the hell was in the front. But I only got the concussion because I was on the ass end of it, And I woke up on the beach. I don't know what the hell happened. And they evacuated me aboard the Relief, the hospital ship, the Relief. But I wasn't bad. I was just concussion, So they didn't want to take a bed away from a guy who was really bad, So they put me in one of them things on the lines, the chair, into a seagoing tug, the Chickasaw. And it had a green troop. They never seen no combat or anything. And I had all Japanese money with me, different bullets, and they all wanted the souvenirs and all. They gave me a shower and cleaned me up and all. So then they put me in a chair and they brought me to a hospital, auxiliary hospital ship, the Tryon. Not the real bad wounded. The bad wounded was on the Relief. But the others, whatever was wrong with you, you went on the auxiliary hospital ship. But it was a big hospital ship. So they're going to evacuate us.
Why don't we stop there? Because we're almost at 15 minutes. And then we'll pick up right after. Right? Cut.
All right.
Camera A is rolling.
Camera B rolling.
Okay, so here we are, day 2, Semper Fi, take 3.
This is just so
Day 2, Semper Fi, take 3. Alright, so you're on the Tryon.
So we're on a Tryon. You're going to take us to Noumea, New Caledonia, which is near Australia. It's a long way. So we're down by the equator. And all of a sudden, the Pacific, it's not rough, but it's it's usually a little, but this day it was like a lake. No ripples, no nothing. So calm. And a couple of sailors are walking by. They says, "Uh-oh, calm before the storm." Now, you heard that phrase before, but I never really realized what it meant, I figured, it ain't nothing. We hit a typhoon. 70, 80-foot waves. I'm on a big hospital auxiliary ship. We had a destroyer escorting us down. We had a big Red Cross on it, but the Japs wouldn't care about that. They'd blow us out of the water in a minute. But anyway, we had the Jap DE destroyer escorting us down, and we hit this here typhoon. Now, we weren't rolling. We were pitching. And you waited maybe 5-7 seconds for 9 hours. Oh, I thought we were going to break it. I never thought we were going to make it. I thought they were going to, unbelievable. And what the poor little D destroyer escort broke in half. All hands lost. We had to go 4 days without an escort, but we made it to New Caledonia. So I was in the hospital for a month in New Caledonia. And then I got on the ship. Now, do you see that picture, Dr. Roberts? And Mr. Roberts? Yeah. In other words, this ship was picking up people to bring back to Pearl Harbor. So we went to Pago Pago, Samoa, picked up people there. Then we hit, don't even ask me what it was, some small little island. And all of a sudden, these about 5 or 6 Seabees, they're what they call a duffel, not a duffel bag, a goodie bag, And they were long, like beards like you, And they had the bracelets made from the Jap planes and all. And they starry-eyed, and they're coming up the gangplank. And they says, "Who won the war?" They were in the, they were in the remote. They didn't know what the hell was going on, Just like Mr. Roberts way back, they know. So they made us laugh like hell. Who won the war? I says, "How long have you been on the island?" He says, 2 years. I says, "You can throw a rock across this island. There's a radio station, I said, "You've been here for 2 years?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Who won the war?" Oh, Jesus. So we finally made our way back to Pearl Harbor. Oh, jeez. So back to Maui. More training, more this, more that. What was I going to say? Okay. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I was a bazooka man on the Marshall Islands. But when we went back to Maui, they made a BAR man out of me.
What's a BAR?
Browning automatic rifle, 250 rounds a minute. So you got 10 magazines. You got 10 bullets in each magazine. So I've got to go back to Saipan because I forgot to tell you this. So anyway, we're on Saipan, and the Japs, they come with banzai attack. You know what a banzai is? It's a suicide attack. So as I said, it's a 24-hour day. We used to chase them all day. They used to come at us all night. So you get to know each other, So it'd be about maybe 5 o'clock in the afternoon after we're chasing them all day long. They're up on the hills and all. So now we know they're seeing us. We know they're watching us, because they want to know where to come at night, because they come out at you every night. You never got lonely. You had company every night. So anyway, they said, "All right, everybody clean their rifles, fire for effect." So everybody clean their rifles, fire for effect. Now I was on L Company, and I was a BAR man. This guy is in K Company. I was the last man on L Company. He was the last man on K Company together, see? And he had a BAR, and I had a BAR. So they had to clean the rifles and fire for effect and blah, blah, blah. So I had my BAI across there, and I'm cleaning and all. All of a sudden I hear, dum, 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 dum. Oh, my God. The guy next to me with the BAR forgot to take the magazine out, and he hit the trigger while he was cleaning. Killed 3 Marines right next to him. Oh my God, blood! I ran over. He's hit by a tree. I ran over to see what I could do. I put my hand behind his head, and I had his brains in my hand. I was, oh my God! And not the guy that done it. He just put his hand. As soon as the rounds went out of his BAI, he put his hand. He knew he killed somebody. And of course, they had to take him off the island. He cracked up, you know. But like I'm trying to tell you, about 20% CAS-friendly fire. You know, that's the way these things happen. So anyway, they see us coming. They're watching us. Now we lay out barbed wire about 75 yards in front of our lines. Now they see us doing that. We're laying out the barbed wire. We know they're watching. Now it gets dark, and we go out 50 yards and lay tripwire with flares and grenades, you know. Now here they come, about 3 o'clock in the morning. Here they come, and you can hear them cutting through the barbed wire. You know, and they're talking, and they cut through the barbed wire. Now they think they're home free, right? And of course the flares are going off at night, you know, and they come running at us, maybe 150, 200. They come running at us, Banzai! You know, and they hit that tripwire. It was like Coney Island. You couldn't miss. I emptied that BAR. Oh, man, I emptied that magazine, you know. It was like, oh, you couldn't miss. So anyway, that was that. Now I had to bring you back to Saipan, I'll tell you that. I forgot that. So now we're back to Maui after Tinian. So there's 4 of us in a tent in Maui. Oh, I gotta tell them about Henry. Should I tell them about Henry? There's 4 of us in a tank, in a tent. We have floors, wooden floors, but no electricity, just kerosene lamp. A little table in the middle. So you can't actually see into the corners, you know. It's just a kerosene lamp. So we're in there one night, and these 2 other guys was playing cards, and I was writing a letter home. And Henry was laying in his bunk. He was a machine gunner, a terrific Marine. He was laying in his bunk. Now this is after 3 invasions. I'm telling you, the odds are going against you. So anyway, because there's no duration, it like was you go to Iraq for a year and you come home. We had no guarantee, you know. So anyway, he's laying on the bunk there, and all of a sudden, he sits up. Of course, like I say, you couldn't see. You had only the light where you were. And he takes out his knife, his K-bar, and he starts throwing it into the floor. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, the other 2 guys playing cards, they're just throwing out any card. I start writing anything. We figure this guy's cracking up, you know what I mean? We got to protect ourselves or him or something. He's going wacko. What's going to happen next, I don't know. So all of a sudden he says, well, good night, fellas. Oh, boy, relief, you know. So they start playing cards. I start writing a letter. Next thing I hear is boom. See, we used to have the M1s, the grand rifle, on a cot, on the loops. And he took his bare foot and put it through the trigger and blew his head off. And we cleaned blood out for 2 days. And he was a terrific Marine. But you see, the odds got to him. He figured, hey, you know, let me take the easy way out. When am I going to throw all this bullshit for, you know? Well, that was that. So anyway, these 2 other Marines, well, he was dead, and we got a replacement. So these 2 other Marines, they wanted to volunteer to become anti-scout and snipers in headquarters company. So they did. They went to headquarters company. That left 2 Marines in my tent. So anyway, it was Thanksgiving. So we're out in the field, maneuvers, training. And Thanksgiving, everybody has to have turkey. That's tradition in the Corps, So anyway, the 2 guys that went there, left my tent and went to the sniper school, anti-scout and sniper school. They were driving the Jeep. With the turkeys on it, with the little cart behind the Jeep. And had the turkeys. They were bringing out the turkeys out to the field where we were. And I never got the real story. I don't know whether they were speeding or what, but anyway, they turned over and both got killed. Again, I'm saying 20 accidents and friendly fire. There's 2 more I don't tell you about. Holy Jesus! Now they gotta be replaced in the school. Me and the other guy, they grabbed a hold of us. You 2 guys got an empty tank. We're transferring you to headquarters at L Company. Transferring you to headquarters, sniper school, headquarters. I'm gonna do it. It ain't my idea, but I gotta do it. See? So we went through all sniper school, telescope sight, 03, hair trigger. So anyway, okay, so that's how I got out of L Company into headquarters, 03. So now,
Why don't we cut there? Because we're just about at like 15 minutes, and we'll pick right back up. Camera A is running.
Oh, jeez. I'm down to 55 seconds.
Oh. Well, it turns out we just got to go with what we got.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Day 2, Semper Fi, take 4. Day 2, Semper Fi, take 4.
okay.
You're in sniper school.
So we went to sniper school. They're getting ready to go to EWO. The reason they wanted us to go to sniper school is because on Tarawa, the 2nd Marine Division, on Tarawa they had a pier sticking out. But they also had a Jap ship facing the beach. And on kind of the coral, they had a wade about 700 yards in, up to their neck in water, to try to get into the beach. And they were getting crossfire from the pier and from the ships, the snipers. See? So we figured they'd have the same thing on EWO, so that's why they want to make snipers, anti-scout and snipers. In other words, if there was a ship there, we were going to have to go fire at the snipers at the ship, anti-scout and sniper. So we had to fire at them. But there was no ship on EWO. But anyway, I got transferred. Now, in the Marshall Islands, I was on the 1st wave. On Saipan, I was on the 2nd wave. Just the way it worked out. And Tinian, I was on the 3rd wave. So, as I said, we don't get the orders till we get out to sea and blah, blah, blah. And I found out we're going to be in the 4th wave. I said, boy, oh boy. We finally hit the jackpot. We got a little better than the other, So what happens on EWO, they let the first 3 waves in and they opened up on us. So anyway, the assault waves, L Company, my old company, plus everybody else, they were in the alligators. But when we hit EWO, we were on the ramp because we weren't the assault troops. We were in the fourth wave, headquarters. See, L Company got wiped out, 80%. If them 2 guys didn't die, I would have been in L Company, and I wouldn't be here today. But anyway, I'm on headquarters, and they had us pinned down. Oh my God, 2,000 dead the first day. I couldn't find nobody alive around me. I don't know how the hell I'm here. But anyway, there's a couple of terrorists there. There's volcanic ash, like I told you, and the artillery coming in, machine gun. It was a killing field. I don't know how else going to put it. Well, guys are legs, arms up. You couldn't believe it. So if you stood up, you were dead. No two ways about it, you know. So now it's getting to be about 5:30 at night. This is the first D-Day, February the 19th. We hit 9 o'clock in the morning. This is almost 6 o'clock at night. It's just going to start to get dark a little bit, you know. So this, I don't know if it was a lieutenant or a captain or who the hell he was, but he comes crawling along the volcanic ash up behind the terrace where we were. So all we had was a terrace. If you stood up, you were dead. So he comes crawling up. Of course, he couldn't walk up. He had to crawl up. So he says, look, he said, we just got word they're going to bring some ramps, some boats in, LCVPs, to get some of these wounded out here. He said, we need some volunteers to get these wounded out of here. I didn't want to move. Are you kidding me? Beside the artillery and the mortar shell and everything else, I said, I didn't want to move. So he says, I'm looking for 2 volunteers. And I looked around, I see these guys with legs off, arms off. So I involuntarily volunteered. There was no way out. I didn't want to do it, but I got to do it. So I got on the front of the stretcher. Another Marine got on the back of the stretcher. We picked up this one guy. He had one leg hanging off. And we got down to the shore where the ramp is. And I was putting my right foot onto the ramp. Boom! Mortar shell. I got blown up in the air. I didn't feel nothing. I come down. There's my thumb hanging off. Holy, the blood poured out of it. I didn't know what the hell happened, you know. And so this sailor that was operating the ramp, he grabbed a hold of me and pulled me in. He said, let's get the hell out of here. You know, and that's how I got off Iwo Jima. I got hit in the right place at the right time, or else I wouldn't be here today. And if I didn't get transferred to the Bell Company, I certainly wouldn't have been here today. And they took me, now I was on the, I'm going to back up a little bit. I was on the APA 193, the Sanborn. So when you get on a ship, you get to talk to different people and all, where you're from, you know, different. So he's, one of the guys says, hey, Jack, you're from Bayonne, New Jersey, right? I says, yeah. He says, we got a foreman here. He's from Jersey City. Oh, you know, close to home, you know. Oh. Yeah, you want to, yeah, I'll introduce it. So his name was Carl Witzman from Jersey City. So we shook hands and all. We got, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, he says, look, he says, if anything happens, he says, I'll go see your parents, or if anything happens to me, will you go see my parents? I said, sure, because, you know, hey, we live day to day, you know, we didn't know what was tomorrow. So anyway, we exchanged addresses and all. And now, like I said, there was all these big convoys, 700 ships there. Now, they were evacuating me out. Now, I don't know what the hell ship I'm going to go on. So we're halfway out to the ships, and we're heading for this ship, and I see 193. That's the Sanborn. That's the one I come off. They evacuated me aboard the same ship I come off. So Carl Witzman, who was the corpsman, he helped. He was in the operating room, and then when they brought me in, he said, "What are you doing here?" You know? He couldn't believe it was me. I said, so anyway, he helped with me. So anyway, I'm on there, and I'm waiting. He's talking to me, and all of a sudden the doctor turns around to me and says, "Prepare for amputation." I said, "Oh no, you're going to take my thumb off," because they couldn't bother with me. I was only a minor thing. Guys with all the legs, arms up, you know, they didn't want to waste no time with me. Prepare for amputation. So Carl Witzman said, no, you know, you took my side, you know. Thank God. So the doctor said, you'll ever lose your whole arm. I said, gangrene, you know. I said, I don't care, you only take my thumb off, you know. So anyway, that's how I got to know him. And So they took me from there to Guam. So now they put me in an Army hospital in Guam because Saipan was full with Navy, Marine, all the Navy hospitals were all filled with all the Marines. But they finally took me, of course they flew them in. But with me, they took me to Guam, an Army hospital, which the nurses were a lot better than the Navy nurses. So they put us in a tent, a hospital tent and all. Like I said, one day in the Pacific, they're after me with the damn jab. So here I get off Iwo Jima. I'm evacuated to Guam. I figure I'm safe and sound. All of a sudden, the bullets are ripping through the tent. You know, they're up on the hills. They want to get the food and the water. You read in the paper where some of them were 20 years later they come out of Guam. They gave up after 20 years. Can you imagine holding out that long? But anyway, she says, we get this every night. So, anyway, I was on Guam for a month. So we're in the Quonset hut, you know, sitting outside. We don't know what the hell's going to happen to us, you know. I figure I'm going to have to go back, rejoin my outfit, and, you know, carry on. Go to Japan. I don't know what was going to go on. So all of a sudden, this nurse comes out, and she says, close your eyes. I'm sitting down, and, you know, she says, close your eyes. I says, close my eyes. She says, yeah. I close my eyes. All of a sudden, I feel her arms going around me. I thought she was going to give me a kiss. And then I felt something on my neck. And then she says, okay, open your eyes. I open my eyes. She said, look down. I look down, there's a red tag. Blank. Red tag. I said, what's this? She says, turn it over. USA, I'm going home. It's like getting born again. I'm going home. Wow. Jeez, I couldn't believe it, you know? Yeah. So anyway, that was the last I seen Carl Witzman. He was in Guam because they had to go on up to Okinawa and all that after Iwo. So we got on a merchant marine ship, the USS Johnson. President Johnson was a merchant marine ship. And they took us from Guam to San Francisco. So we're about 3 days out of San Francisco, and Roosevelt died. He died April 12th. We landed the 15th in San Francisco. So it was 3 days before. But this was the day before Roosevelt died. We were picking up sailors, Marines, soldiers from all different places, you know, on our way back. So we had maybe a couple of thousand guys on that ship, you know, going back to America. So I'm leaning against at night. I'm leaning against the thing with a couple of hundred other guys, you know, looking at them on board. We're so happy we're going to go home. We're getting nearer and nearer to America and all, you know. So the guy next to me, he was in the Army, he said, boy, not talking to anybody, he said, boy, what I would do to be back in Bayonne tonight. Bayonne, can you imagine that? I said, Bayonne, you're from Bayonne? He said, yeah. I said, so am I. Can you imagine that? He said, you're from Bayonne? Yeah, blah, 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 blah. So he says, I'm in the Air Corps. He said, I'm going to fly home. Give me your address. I'll see your mother and father. He did. He flew home, yeah. But I ended up in a Navy hospital, Navy receiving hospital in San Francisco. We stayed there 5 days, and they put us on a train. And it took us 5 days from San Francisco to Newport, Rhode Island, a hospital in Newport, Rhode Island. So I got to Newport, Rhode Island, and I got a 30-day overseas leave. I was home for 30 days, and then I had to go back up to Newport, and then they said, anybody wants, we have an opening in a Navy Receiving Hospital in Coney Island on the boardwalk. Anybody wants to go sign here? Why should I stay up there? Want to be Coney Island, get near home, you know? So about 10 of us signed up. They took the train, come down, right? So we were in Coney Island for 3 months, a Navy Receiving Hospital in Coney Island, all summer. The 21st of June till September the 21st. And then they took me to St. Albans Hospital in Long Island, Queens, St. Albans. And I was there for about a month. And then they sent me to Brooklyn Navy Yard to get discharged. Now, they have to pay you from where you entered, where you enlisted. They had to pay you traveling pay. So everybody's online getting discharged and all. Guys from Idaho and this, they're getting $20 and $30, whatever it was. It comes my turn. Here I am in Brooklyn. I enlisted in New York. The sergeant, he just looked at me, he put his hand in his pocket, took out a nickel, he said, "Here, boy, go home." The subway was a nickel. I got a nickel traveling pay. And there I was, home. Now, there's only one thing I want to, one.
Wait, let's pick it up in the...
All right.
Lava?
The lava ash. All right. Day 2, Semper Fi, take 5. No, it's just this guy.
So anyway, I get discharged. Now, as I told you, Carl Witzman, the farmer's mate that I met on the ship, I went to see his mother and father and all, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then he finally come home. So my brother Jimmy, I want to get back to my brother Jimmy. I didn't mention too much about him. He went to Midway, and then he went to the Philippines. He was in the Philippines 6 months. He was a chief aviation mechanic on the Corsairs. He had 5 guys under him, and he was the last guy. He climbs on the ship on the plane, and gives the okay to the pilot. He's the last guy to say everything is okay. You go. So then he says, I got talking after the war about this, you know. I says, "Oh yeah." He says, "Yeah." He says, then when they take off, we're in the ground crew. So everybody's rooting for their own plane, you know. So they make bets. So this plane my brother was on, the pilot was on ace. He already had 6 Japs. Every time you get a Jap, if you get 6 Jap, they call you an ace, you know. This guy had over 12 already. But anyway, when they take off, they make bets. And when the planes come back in, if they get one Jap or 2 Japs, they make a flip to let the ground crew know. 1. Well, the other guy got 2. You know, and that's how they pay you up. That's free, you know. So anyway, they become very good. The pilot and the crews, they got to be very close, you know. And he says, one day my pilot didn't come home. He says, it was so sad. So anyway, Jimmy's going to get married. Now, see the way things mingle, how things happen? Here I met him out in the middle of the Pacific. So my brother Jimmy's going to get married. And his wife, she wanted a lot of big bridesmaids and grooms and all. So they were short one groom. He says, Jimmy says, "What the hell am I going to do?" He says, "Well, you know, all my friends are still gone." He says, I said, "How about my friend Carl Witzman?" He ended up being a usher for my twin brother's wedding. Now, how do you like that? See? Now, going back to Quantico, remember I told you the guy's name was Ed Thuring? And we call him Dr. Gillespie? Now the war is over about 30 years. So my buddy Jackie Folger, he was in the 6th Marine Division. He went all through Okinawa. And we were the best of friends. So he owned a saloon in Bayonne. And he had, this customer was in there for about 3 years, you know. He But they never got talking about the war or anything, you know. It just never come up. So it was like a Monday or a Tuesday. It was a dead night. So my buddy Jackie says to him, "You want to shoot a little pool?" "Yeah, shooting pool." And then somehow the conversation come up was, "Were you in the service?" So Jackie says, "Yeah." He says, "I was in the Marines, in 6th Division, Okinawa." "Oh," he says, "I was in the Navy. I was a fireman's mate. I was attached to the Marine Corps in Quantico, Virginia." "Oh yeah," he says, "my buddy was at one time in Quantico." He says, "Yeah." He says, "What was his name?" He says, "Jack Guarini." He says, "I know him. He's the one that helped fix me up with the fight, remember?" So Jackie says to him, "You don't know him." He says, "He's got a twin brother, ain't he?" As soon as he said that, I knew. So I'm home here reading the paper, 9 o'clock at night, reading the paper. The phone rings. My buddy Jackie gets on the phone. He says, "You know a guy named Ed During?" I said, "Boy, that name sounds familiar." You know, I couldn't think right away. You know, he hits you all at once. I says, "Yeah, we used to have a corpsman in Quantico. We used to call him Dr. Gillespie." He says, "You want to talk to him?" After 30 years. Can you imagine that? So after it was about a month and a half later, my buddy and Dr. Gillespie and a couple other guys, they come up to see me up here in the house. We had a nice little reunion. And about 7 months later, he died of pneumonia. Oh boy. But anyway, see the way lives mingle? And that's my story.
What about the volcanic ash?
And this is the volcanic ash from Iwo Jima.
Put that right.
Yeah.
Right here. Here, you hold it.
Yeah.
And you put it right in front of the camera.
Hmm?
Hold it up in front of the camera. There you go.
So that's my end of my story.
And cut.